High gas prices. Gas prices have more than doubled in 2 years, saddling millions of people who drive cars and trucks every day with enormous costs. The economy's rapid recovery from the pandemic created more demand for gasoline, pushing prices higher. Then, the invasion of Ukraine led to a global backlash against Russia, which produces more oil than all but 2 other countries. So prices went higher again. All this happened as supplies tightened because of production cuts by the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries and major oil companies. The net result is that a gallon of gas that cost $2.35 in February of 2020 now costs about $5.10. And experts say prices could continue to rise in the near term. For drivers, the run-up in prices has been painful. It has forced many people to change their driving habits and spend less on other things. And it has come to a time when many are already struggling to make ends meet because of the pandemic. Why are gas prices so high? The COVID-19 pandemic upended life as we knew it. Businesses closed their doors, schools shifted to online learning, and people started working from home. Amid all of this upheaval, one unexpected consequence was a sharp drop in gas prices. Post-pandemic demand for gas. In February of 2020, gas was averaging $2.50 per gallon. However, as the pandemic took hold and people stayed home, the demand for gas decreased sharply since people weren't going anywhere. This led to a decrease in production and gas prices fell to around $29 per fill-up. While this may have been a welcomed relief for drivers, the decrease in demand also had a negative impact on the oil industry. Unemployment levels spiked as businesses slashed their budgets. After a long year of pandemic, the people started to feel comfortable travelling again. Since vaccines became more widely available, that's why a lot of people hit the road in 2021. All types of vehicles started to operate back and things seemed normal. However, the gas prices rose significantly in 2021, making it almost $45 to fill up a car. Decrease in oil production. The Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, or OPEC, is a cartel of oil-producing nations that have a history of manipulating the supply of oil in order to keep prices high. In 2020, when demand for oil plummeted due to the pandemic, OPEC slashed production by 10 million barrels, which represented 10% of the global supply. However, as the global economy began to recover from the pandemic, OPEC was slow to ramp up production again. Here's what Dahan said. We're nearing pre-COVID levels for consumption, but production is still lagging. OPEC didn't start increasing production until July 2021. They were already too late. They were severely behind the curve. This caused a problem because the world was consuming more oil than was being produced, and prices began to rise as a result. Meanwhile, US producers said they were increasing production, but warned that it would take time for these new supplies to reach the market and affect prices at the pump. Impact of Russian invasion on Ukraine. In early 2022, prices went down a little, but then Russia invaded Ukraine in late February and prices shot back up. A full tank of gas can now cost more than $70, $80 or $90 depending on your car and where you live. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was a turning point for the world economy. It plunged the world into an energy crisis and caused prices to skyrocket. The price of oil quadrupled within a matter of weeks, and the price of gas doubled. The Russian invasion also caused a drastic increase in the price of food and other commodities. Prices have remained high ever since, and there is no end in sight. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was a disaster for the world economy, and the consequences are still being felt today. US sanctions on Russia. US sanctions on Russia in response to the nation's involvement in the conflict in Ukraine have caused a sharp increase in global oil prices. While the US does not import a significant amount of oil and gas from Russia, the sanctions have still had an impact on global markets. The price of benchmark US crude oil rose by more than $3 per barrel after the sanctions were announced, and Brent crude saw a similar increase. The rise in gas prices is due to the larger global oil market, which has been affected by the sanctions. As the conflict in Ukraine continues, it's likely that global oil prices will continue to rise. This will have an impact on the cost of fuel in the US, as well as on the economies of countries that depend heavily on oil exports. Role of Biden's policies. Republican lawmakers have been quick to blame President Joe Biden's policies for higher gas prices, but experts say that the US is actually producing more oil now than it was prior to Mr. Biden's inauguration. The latest data shows that for the week of March 4, 2022, the US was producing 11.6 million barrels per day, compared with an average of 11.3 million barrels per day in 2020, according to data from the US Energy Information Administration. The increase in production is due to a number of factors, including the completion of the Dakota Access Pipeline and the lifting of Trump-era restrictions on drilling in Alaska's Arctic National Wildlife Refuge. In addition, private companies have been investing in new technologies that have helped to boost production levels. While Mr. Biden's policies may not be responsible for higher gas prices, they have undoubtedly played a role in increasing domestic oil production. Gas prices can be volatile, and even a small change in supply or demand can cause prices at the pump to fluctuate on a daily basis. Other factors, such as the distance a driver lives from the refinery or the state gas taxes, can also impact gas prices. For example, Alaska charges 8 cents per gallon in state taxes, while California's state tax is 51 cents per gallon. Additionally, some states require unique fuel blends that can be more costly than standard blends, like the blend required in California. These specific considerations often result in increased gas prices for drivers in those states. Despite these potential fluctuations and added costs, many drivers still consider their own personal finance points for fuel before making the decision to fill up their tank. Factors like recent changes in income or upcoming travel plans can play a role in how much someone is willing to spend on gas at any given time. Ultimately, each driver must weigh the pros and cons of filling up their tank based on their current situation and budget. When will gas prices go down? Inflation is on the rise and experts believe that gas prices are to blame. According to Bill Adams, chief economist for Commercial Bank, the Russia-Ukraine war is causing a knock-on effect that is pushing prices higher at supermarkets, gas stations, and utility companies. This inflation will likely continue for weeks or even months to come. In the meantime, Adams advises consumers to watch their spending and be mindful of rising prices. With a bit of careful planning, it's possible to weather this period of inflation without too much financial hardship. As gas prices continue to rise, there is no shortage of opinions on what should be done about it. Some governors are calling for the suspension of gas taxes as a way to provide relief to consumers, but that would mean less money for road projects. The White House is releasing oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in an effort to increase the availability of gas, and they are also taking steps to ease some emission rules over the summer. Republicans have called for more domestic oil production as a solution, but that is not without its own set of problems. The truth is, there is no easy answer when it comes to high gas prices, and it will likely take a combination of measures to bring them down. Whatever solution is ultimately chosen, it needs to be one that will provide relief to consumers without jeopardizing their other important priorities. That's all there is for today. Leave a comment with your thoughts on the surge in gas prices. Also, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed the video, and click the notification bell to never miss our videos. Stay tuned.